News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth with darkhookmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian, wishing you a very happy National Blueberry Popsicle Day.
Wow.
Oh, no, sorry. International Bacon Day. That's much more appropriate.
Well, how many you got lined up there, Max?
You got
I kind of like
popsicles and bacon.
I think we throw it both on the table. So, yeah, Max, I like that because I'm really curious about, Allan, you told us last week that anybody can go file for a specific day. Well, I mean, who filed for the Blueberry Popsicle Day? That's got to be some commercial enterprise, right?
Oh, yeah.
Although it sounds delicious, I don't know that I've ever had a blueberry popsicle.
Oh, I have. They're quite good.
I'm just letting you know that today is ripe with weird holidays. There's Turkey Vulture Day, World Beard Day, World Coconut Day, National Tailgating Day, and one of my favorites, let's just say National Hummingbird Day.
Okay.
It's just ripe with holidays.
That's nice. I like that. You got both extremes of the birds. You got turkey vultures on one side and hummingbirds on the other. It's just fair.
You know, it would be interesting, not to turn the whole show into this, but it would be interesting to see if somebody could come up with a festival or something to celebrate all of these days in one event. You know, I mean, you got your hummingbirds showing up. You got
the holiday day.
This particular one, you got popsicles. It has all the ingredients. You could possibly do this. So.
Oh,
I don't know.
Do it's September 2nd Festival Day.
Yeah. Okay. We got our work cut out for us, you guys. So okay. Well, that's all there out on the table. Thanks, Max. Boy, you really threw out quite a bit. But anyway, if you want to chime in on any of those hot topics or things that actually have to do with home improvement, imagine that, you can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also strongly encourage you to run over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page, where we've made 4 posts this morning, Allan, including one that has to be seen to be believed. Allan's been very good. In the past, Allan was guilty of not taking enough photos of some of his encounters or some of the projects that you worked on. You're doing a whole photo journal of this outdoor libation station that you're building next to your friend's pool. Including your encounter with a raccoon.
Well, that's not at the pool. That's actually at a commercial building in town.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Allan's got Allan's week in review is going to be really good, and it also is more or less overlapping with the Critter Wars.
Oh,
so
yes.
We're going to get to that. And then after you've done that, visit the Royal Retreat studio cams over at the News Talk 98.9 The Roar Facebook page, and you can watch the show, and you can, watch and listen at the same time, of course. If you don't want to watch the show now, it's saved for the ages. Just come back whenever it's, it's
whenever
it's
a frightening
convenient
prospect, Joe.
Yeah, if that's what floats your boat. So, all right, Allan, we have got a lot to get to. I do have to say right out of the gate, so Max threw out quite a bit that we're putting out on the table as far as special days. Allan, I spent hours last week responding to all of the emails that flooded in about our toilet paper discussion, about the proper installation, not really, but about the proper installation of toilet paper rolls. Does it go over the top or under? After careful consideration, I realize it's not as cut and dry as I thought. I basically put it out there that the only possible way to install it is over the top. However, depending on the positioning of the rolls, depending on if it's freestanding, you've seen these, depending on how far it is from your lateral reach from the where you're sitting or whatever, it may be more convenient to go inside. I had to rethink.
There's an entire science to this.
Although I still prefer over the top. So if you have any strong views about the way toilet paper rolls should be installed, you can still get involved in that. So, all right, Allan, this is going to be fun. In Great Moments in Building History, we are going to talk. This isn't going to just be one point in time. We're going to kind of traverse the centuries, and we're going to talk about roller coasters. This was a fun one, I got to admit. The research on this is pretty interesting, so we didn't want to limit it to one particular coaster, right? I mean,
well, you can't,
no.
Is the thing. They are the accumulation of literally hundreds of years of adventures.
Oh, it's going to be fun, so I can't wait to get to that. Our loyal listener, Robbie, sent us sent us a photo. I think I posted that. I got to double check, Robbie. If I haven't, I'll post it at the break of for a tool tail. It's a plunge cut track saw.
Oh yeah.
Boy, it looks nice. It's very precise, and we're going to discuss that on tool tails, and it's going to segue into a conversation that we want to discuss too, all about the joys of having a good vacuum system in your workshop. So, let's see. We got our must-have item of the week. Allan, we have got to get to this, though, because it's going to be fun. In historically terrible, we're going to talk about linoleum.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, I think that's a fair assessment. I don't know. Maybe people out there are linoleum supporters or what. I sure don't see a whole lot of it anymore. Do you? I mean, mostly it's what I see of it is being ripped out or something. So
well, that was one of those things whose time kind of came and went.
Yeah. Okay.
What can I say?
Let's see. And I think that's about all I'm going to tease today. So, but I do want to, Allan, why don't we, let's see. I was trying to decide which one of these things we want to get to first, but why don't we get to your week in review, Allan? We can at least tee it up. There's quite a bit to discuss. So,
Oh, the humanity.
Allan, this is interesting. Now, we posted picture. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly in this one, right? So, tell us what you did this week.
Let's start with the pool.
Okay.
So over at the pool house, round one of the concrete has been poured. Of course, we the cement, not the concrete. The cement counter has been poured, and of course, we poured it when it was about 120 degrees outside. So
I'm sorry.
It didn't set exactly perfectly, so it's going to have to be skinned.
I should say something. You never know. We might have new listeners that haven't heard you've spent the last 4 or 5 weeks on this.
Right.
You're basically converting what used to be. It looks like something from Gilligan's Island, like a little cabana, about 8 feet from the pool. Mm-hmm. It has electricity, so you have and you're rebuilding it. You basically kept the guts and are rebuilding the outside, and then you're also going to turn it into a multi-purpose unit. So in the winter, you're going to convert it into a greenhouse. So
yes.
Okay, now we're up to date.
Yeah. So
and it's pretty cool. I got to give you credit, man.
So hidden in the superstructure of the it was as the pool house storage place.
Right.
So now it is a full bar, and hidden inside the bar is all of the trappings that you will need to hang to turn it into a functioning greenhouse.
Are you going to use like plexiglass or something?
I believe we're going to be using Corlex stands.
Okay, whatever. Is that the fancy word for plexiglass?
No, it's a type of fiberglass.
Okay, all right. Well, we've set the table, so when we come back, we're going to hear all about the adventure that was Allan's week. Mm-hmm. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
This castle is in unacceptable condition! Unacceptable!
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I mean, that is not constructive criticism at all, Allan. It's just a lot of whining, in my opinion. So I hate working for that guy.
Oh, well.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass, who is flummoxed because of how many special holidays today represent. Max, you were going through the list and you barely got to them all. There was one more you didn't even mention.
World Beard Day. Not beer, but beard. But if you do have a beard, you most likely drink beer.
Yeah, there are a lot of special holidays today. That I mean, Blueberry Popsicle Day, Hummingbird Day, whatever.
Oh, and VJ Day, Victory over Japan. It's actually an historical day.
Yeah, maybe we ought to start with that one, Max. But okay,
I stopped somewhere around the Vulture Day.
Yeah,
I was kind of like turkey buzzards. I'm good.
So, the turkey vultures sounds like it's worthy of a shout out too.
Turkey vultures are kind of interesting because when they're afraid, or a defense mechanism they have is, let's just say they upchuck.
Okay, thanks,
like
Max.
out of fear.
Well,
as a
everybody's
defense
having
mechanism.
breakfast right now. Thanks, Max.
Exactly.
Nature's vacuum cleaners. Anyway, if you want to weigh in on any of this stuff, you can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the action over there. We've made several posts. Actually, Mac, remind me to post Robbie's picture at the break. I didn't get to that this break, but of our tool tales. We're going to talk about a pretty cool saw that he used this week. And after you've checked out all those posts, go over to the News Talk 98.9 The Roar Facebook page, and you can watch the show on the Royal Retreat studio cams. And I will say the studio it's looking pretty good these days, Allan.
Yep.
Cool lighting, nice paint job. Everything's crisp and clean, all nice new equipment, and our 100,000-watt broadcast.
But then there's you guys.
Then we're here to to kind of undercut all of that.
Examples of every day.
There you go. Hey, Allan, before the break, we were talking about your week in review, which is wide-ranging, and as much as it kills me to give you credit, this pool house is coming together really nice. Well, we're calling it's really a libation station.
Yeah,
whatever.
It's the pool bar.
It's a cabana, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it's cool, and I really appreciate the use of some of the creative use you're using for decorative elements that are practical and good looking, I have to say. So,
well, of course, you have the back of the bar.
Right.
So basically, you're just looking through and you're looking at like the neighbor's bushes way back behind you.
Right.
So there's not a lot of visual interest at that point. However, trotting through one of the big box stores, basically a welcome mat, a floor mat, caught my attention, and this is one of the commercial ones like you'd use in a kitchen.
The heavy
really
duty, thick stuff. Yeah.
Super duper heavy duty. But it had this really cool floral pattern in it.
Right.
So
that was see-through. I mean, this is...
Yeah, I got to measuring it, and I was kind of like, well, I got a spot that's basically 36 inches high, right about 35 inches.
Right.
And, well, they're only 24 inches. I'm kind of doing math in my head standing there, and I go, all right, I'm going to take 3 of them. So I got there, and what I did was... space them out, put them in place so that they are decoratively a couple of inches away from each other, and went back in and double framed because, again, I'm hiding a greenhouse in here.
Right.
So I double framed over the edges of this so that they're basically appearing out of the woodwork and disappearing back into the woodwork.
No, that's...
So a good wind, well, the idea behind this was that a really good wind comes tearing through there. These aren't going to go blowing out the back.
Right.
They're not going anywhere. And what it did was it provided a nice visual break that this is the back of the bar.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about it. It also got a little bit of the sun off of the person in the bar.
Yeah, I have to say, folks, I would strongly encourage you to go to our Facebook page and check it out because it's basically what you did is you took something that is... It's for one purpose. You just said, well, where is it written that you can't hang this thing and make it decorative? And you can still see the bushes through the back, which so it's basically these things are shaped kind of like, I don't know, like fern leaves or something like that. And the way the light plays through it and the fact that you could take them down and hose them off if it ever came to it. They're cheap. They're not that expensive, but they look great, man. And it plays off the white paint really nice, too. They're just... I don't know. Well, like I said, I hate giving you credit, Al, but on this one, I really gotta.
And the white paint we're playing off of is Kills.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, you haven't even got to the paint yet.
Well, for those of you that don't know anything about Kills is a white paint-like product that is designed to seal, and kill anything that was underneath it.
Yeah.
So it is a great base to use. And I like Kills because it also has a water resistance level to it, unlike a flat paint or something.
Do you like it because it also is named Kills?
Oh, absolutely. It's got the greatest name. But it does what it says it's going to do. And in this particular instance, it's really providing also a level of protection to this whole thing. Because like you said, it's 8 feet from the salt and the chlorine.
Right.
Yeah. So
you're gonna have exactly. So
now, just in of art imitating our radio show, we talked about last week a little bit about the math involved in putting together certain projects,
right?
Up to and including like stairs.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
the
outdoor stairs especially.
The very next day, guess what I had to install?
Well, there you go.
Exterior stairs. So, welcome to appropriate measuring. And this is going to be a case of where I'm going to tell anybody doing this, really, measure 6 times if you have to.
And do a dry run.
And do dry fits.
Yeah.
If you're not positive that this cut is exactly what you want, cut it just a little bit long.
Yeah.
That way you got room for another cut, because it actually took 3 cuts to get these fitted perfectly, because the building isn't exactly perfectly level.
Right.
So we got the first one just right. We go to the second one. I purposely cut it about 1 inch long so that we fitted it in. And it's kind of like, okay, oh, look, it's 1/2 inch too tall as opposed to 1 inch too tall.
Right.
And then the third one and so on. And we put in some amazing 58-inch 3-ply full steps from a concrete pad up to the main deck of the house.
No, it's good.
And they are solid.
Yeah, that's what it is. And it's got a solid concrete base, so the water has somewhere to go. You're not burying them underground where they're going to rot or anything.
No, they are not touching the ground. They are on a good concrete base. That also, by the way, has a 2% grade.
Right, so the water will just kind of roll off.
The water eases off the front and doesn't pool.
Well, so far, things are looking pretty spiffy over there, Allan.
Yeah, I can't wait till we start the sheetrocking on this thing. So I had a great deal of fun working on those stairs and that. And then, well, let's say it's fall.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at Max and go.
And then things took a turn.
Hit it, maestro.
That's the most foul, cruel, and bad-tempered rodent you ever set eyes on.
I just wanted to hug.
Oh, rats in the kitchen, just like that delightful movie I taped in the theater.
So, Allan, there is a great picture on our Facebook page of this raccoon. Let's face it. I mean, this guy looked guilty. He looked sneaky. He looked big. Like, this looked like a seasoned,
This was a typical teenager.
Okay.
This was exactly what that is. This is mom and dad have heaved you out of the house.
Go make your own way.
And now he's looking to make his own way. So I'm walking around this building doing a quick building inspection. And as you can see in the picture, that is a little decorative eave right there.
Yeah.
And you can tell by the paint, somebody spent all night chewing on it, trying to make it an access into the attic.
I was going to ask you about that, because basically the photo evidence there, folks. If you know soffits, they're very hollow. If you get past that first board, which is only 3/4 inch and it's pine, and for them they could sometimes chew through it or actually force the board loose. Is there something instinctual in raccoons that they understand how houses are constructed, Allan? I mean, why are they chewing on this? How do they know that that's going to get them where they need to be?
I think they watch us build them and go, we can put condos through that entire roof thing.
Because if you get in there, that's access to the attic. They're in.
That is raccoon nirvana if they get underneath there. So my cautionary tale here is that the teenagers are out.
Oh, yeah.
And they're looking for homes. And we're talking squirrels, possums, armadillos, raccoons. Of the bunch, the most destructive is definitely the squirrels.
Well,
because they can actually tunnel through the sidewall of your house.
Plus, they're also sort of mid-range in terms of size.
Yeah.
Well, Allan, okay, but here's the thing: you had to drive this raccoon out. What's your technique? This raccoon is not in the house; he's trying to get in the house.
He's trying to get in the house.
So what do you do? Is this a relocation? Is this a?
This was a water balloon.
That's all you use? Not very sophisticated. Is that going to run him off?
Well, he woke up because he was kind of taking a nap with his head up underneath there. And he woke up and gave me that "I'm going to kill you" look.
Yeah.
So I had some balloons in the truck, so I went back inside the building, filled one up, and he was harmlessly annoyed and encouraged to find other domicile.
That's not going to work. What are you going to sit out there all day with water balloons?
No, you just chuck one up in there, and they get out and they leave because
I
now
don't
he's
think
been
that's
busted.
I think round 2 is coming out.
Oh, no, round 2 will take place actually today because we're going to go back in and reinforce that corner.
All right, well, there you go. Yeah, I knew there had to be more to this.
There will be some repellent added.
Okay. All right, boy, we got some fun stuff to get to, Allan, including when we come back, a historically terrible discussion all about linoleum.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Pay the price for your lack of vision.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I mean, it wouldn't be an episode of Tool Talk Radio if Max didn't get us a Emperor Palpatine rejoiner. So you really are zeroed in on this guy, aren't you, Max? I mean, he was. So
he's a fan.
He has the right motivational techniques.
I don't think so. I don't think the guy's a leader. I mean, all he does is annoy everybody and threaten them. So.
Well, that's pretty much.
But he's the most engaging person on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it.
That's pretty much how that raccoon felt about me.
Exactly. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And I'm shocked that some of the old regulars haven't chimed in, Allan. I have to believe maybe Agent 732 is still sleeping because
they're probably
my gosh,
asleep.
look at all the action that we've put. Look at all the calls to action we put out.
World Beard Day.
Yeah,
World Beard Day, Hummingbird Day,
beards, got
Blueberry
hummingbirds,
Popsicle
got turkey
Day,
vultures, got
VJ Day.
popsicles.
VJ Day. Yeah, I mean, I guess we should have led with that, but yeah, I mean, all these celebrations, and also we've left it out on the table that we are still open to hearing your thoughts about the proper installation of toilet paper rolls. So it's all out there. I'm sure once they wake up, they'll be chiming in. But in the meantime, we also invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. We've already made 5 posts this morning. I just, during the break, Robbie, I attached a picture of his plunge cut track saw, which we're going to discuss during Tool Tales, and a pretty good looking saw, I have to say, but it is not for the you don't just get out there willy-nilly and use this. So we're gonna talk about the proper use, I suppose, of the plunge saw, Allan. Then after you've done all that, after you've checked in at the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page, go to the Royal Retreat studio cams on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar Facebook page and watch the show. You can see what it looks like in here. Well, to a degree. We don't show you everything. Some of this is classified, right, Allan? We can't show them all the broadcasting
that's what
equipment.
Max keeps telling us is it's classified.
Okay.
I don't really believe him, but
in a minute, Allan, we have a really fun discussion all about how much we hate linoleum. But before we get to that, let's talk about something we don't hate. In fact, we love, and that is the service that you receive when you contact Brown Refrigeration. Wow, what great people over there. I have a project pending that is going to involve Larry Brown. I know you got those guys on speed dial.
and at several places, yes.
When you have first of all, an HVAC company is not, it's not a one-time purchase. This is a relationship. This is just like the relationship you have with a good mechanic. Once you find that mechanic and that garage that is trustworthy, because your vehicle, or your HVAC system, just like a vehicle, requires maintenance. Not nearly as much maintenance as a car, but it does require some. Mostly it's all preventative maintenance, and it's pretty minor if you stay on top of it early. But the thing is, you want that reliable service. You want somebody that deals with the latest in technology, which Brown Refrigeration always does, including the they've pretty much, it's become standard now to work with the Remy Halo system. I mean, part of installing a HVAC unit is to also install the Remy Halo system, which basically uses the UV power of the sun to create cleaning. It cleans the air and it creates cleaning particulates, so that every surface that this air lands on is being cleaned by these particulates. Pretty impressive. I still don't really understand it, but I trust Larry's scientific acumen. I don't know why HVAC systems still confuse me, Allan. I mean, I'm sorry. They're just, there's a lot of science. There's chemistry. There's a lot of things that go on in that.
There is a lot of chemistry and physics and engineering all in one what we consider a standard simple device. But you go back to just the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really, honestly modern luxury.
It's a precision instrument too.
Yes, it is.
Which is why you need the right people maintaining your system and installing your system. And there's nobody better. They have a great business culture. They're just a rock solid company. They've been around forever and they're not going anywhere. So get in touch with the good people at Brown Refrigeration. You can call them directly at 901-362-1881 or go to their very easy to remember website, brownref.com. All right, Alan, this should be a lot of fun, man.
Oh, my.
This armor's useless. Why do we even wear it?
Oh, you stink!
This is the worst.
I think this is the word. We've been pretty good. We haven't done a historically terrible in a few weeks, Alan, and I was thinking we got to lay off the 1970s for a while. Although this was prominent in the 1970s, but it was not invented in the 1970s. In fact, when this item was invented, it was considered a luxury upgrade to your home, and that is linoleum.
Yeah, well, welcome to 1855.
What do you see? I mean, do we even see linoleum? I can't think of the last time I saw linoleum where it just didn't look terrible, or it was, we were getting ready to take it out, basically, or just cover it up or something. But
PVC squares really kind of overtook linoleum's niche in the market.
Okay.
All right, but
I am curious, though. You said you do, because I didn't do any research on the history. I knew it was old. I knew they had linoleum on the Titanic in the first class section.
Yes. Oh,
but
yes.
You said it goes back to the 1850s.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Let's go back to Frederick Walton.
Okay.
And he was he worked in flooring, and he worked with linseed oil a lot. Now, for anybody that's ever played with linseed oil, and
don't do that, by the way. It's flammable.
It's
you
a lot
get
of stuff.
boiled linseed oil on a rag and you leave it. It can start in fire, and I've seen that happen.
Indeed, start its own fire.
Right.
So because of this, and it also smells.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's.
It never comes off your hands either. It feels like it's never going to come off.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. Now, what was that word again? It never comes off.
Yeah.
And as it oxidizes, it forms this kind of rubbery skin kind of thing.
Right.
So that is what Frederick noticed. A, it don't come off. B, it gets sticky and rubbery. And
so he liked that aspect of it.
And then he's sitting around. Well, all right, at the time, there were adventures in flooring because
they said, well, they don't have to just be made out of wood or
it doesn't have to be stone or wood anymore, or it doesn't have to be tile. So the manufacturing processes, keep in mind, 1850 around in here, this is Industrial Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of products are coming into existence because we now basically have the idea of the basic factory floor.
Right. That's true.
So the idea of an assembly line, we can build stuff, we can make things. In this particular case, we can let things dry or we can let them cook.
Mm-hmm.
So he started experimenting and started soaking cotton sacks in it and letting it dry and become sticky.
Right.
And he was really trying to make a varnish. Because he was trying to make a finish to go over floors.
So this didn't occur to him to attach a backing to it and then.
No, it wasn't until after, honestly, he suffered from dealing with this stuff. He kept giving himself all kinds of horrible, painful rashes.
Yeah.
And finally, his varnish factory. Mm-hmm. What does linseed do if you soak a rag in it and leave it long enough?
It'll start on fire.
His factory burned down.
I was going to say, he's playing with fire, literally. So,
honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but after that, he didn't let go of the idea because he had again, being woodworkers, sawdust and cork dust and stuff like that, got into it. And then he drizzled it on the sheets, and suddenly he had a good, durable product that you could make in sheets.
Right.
So and
it's flexible, so you can roll it up.
Exactly. You can roll it up, roll it out, and you could actually put color in it. You could so welcome to the process. So poor Frederick Walton eventually came up with the idea of what we would consider sheet linoleum.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably applications where it's not a bad thing, but for one thing, floors take a beating. I mean,
yes.
You drag a chair across linoleum, you do anything. I mean, you roll something heavy like the refrigerator across linoleum. It's going to, I mean,
all right, well,
it is just not resilient. It is not meant for that type of thing. And if you ever want to take it off, I mean, the glue and the,
Well, welcome to what happens when other people begin licensing and running with your product.
And making cheaper versions of it.
Exactly. Making cheaper, thinner. As manufacturing progressed over the next 100 years, now we're getting into the American post-World War II world. And it's post-World War II.
Yeah.
Everybody's coming home. Everybody grew up.
Yeah.
We had lots of people wanting to get married and have a home.
And cranking out homes quickly.
And
stuff.
All right, now you've hit it. Now
Right.
we are in full mass production of cheap, fast, and modern.
And let's face it, if you look at the aesthetics of the 1950s, which is cool, but you get that mid-century modern. Everything was about like making your kitchen look like something from the Jetsons or something.
Exactly.
So this new concept of linoleum comes along, and hey, let's do this because you could make it in a pattern that might look interesting.
Yes,
but
but it was cheap. It was fast, and anybody basically could do this. So
you just glue it down, but not everybody does it well. I mean, how many air bubbles have you seen in a linoleum floor?
No one said it had to be done well, Joe. It just got done. That's the name of the game here. So welcome to the product we have all known as linoleum.
I would love to know if any of our listeners are fans of linoleum or if they share my loathing of linoleum. I just don't like, especially because I've had to pull up too many linoleum floors, which is why I resent
Loathing for the linoleum sounds like a band name or like our song name.
Loathing Linoleum is a good name for a band, Max. Absolutely. So,
You and I are on the backside of, how to scrape this stuff off.
Right.
Because it wasn't the linoleum itself as so much as what did you use to put this down with?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they used anything and everything.
Absolutely. So there it is, folks. Linoleum, historically terrible, and we will die on that hill. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, Allan. When we come back, let's get to our must-have item of the week, and then later in the show, we are going to get to our great moments in building history, talking all about roller coasters.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
There's an exposed wire above the bathtub as well.
Oh, yeah, shock wire. I call it that because if you take a shower and you touch the wire, you die.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I guess I'm wondering who tested that theory at his house, because did he find out the hard way with, okay. Anyway, and of course it wouldn't be another episode of Tool Talk if we didn't hear from Ron Swanson, right? I mean, Max, you're turning into kind of a very predictable producer, I guess. So
you just gotta poke the porcupine, don't you?
Well, I'm trying to challenge him. So okay, and welcome back to he didn't like that expression. He didn't like that comment.
I do like being equated to a porcupine.
Okay. Welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and the scheming Max behind the glass. I can tell he's already looking at what the next rejoiner is going to be. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989, which some people are starting to do now. I guess they've had their coffee and they're weighing in, so we'll get to those in a minute. We also invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page, which has been pretty active this morning. Allan, we've made 5 posts, and we've got people chiming in over there. And we'll get to them in a minute as well. So after you've gone over there, go to the News Talk 98.9 The Roar Facebook page, and you can watch the show on the Royal Retreat studio cams. And I will say the studios are looking good, man. So, yep.
And a quick word is you can always take us with you.
Talk to me.
So absolutely, pop over to tooltalkradio.com and like us, subscribe, punch those, hit those like buttons for us.
Right.
We need that. And a quick little shout out to the UK and New Zealand.
Well, you said
Because
there's kind of
they're
a battle
kind of
going,
having
right?
a little tussle coming up.
Okay.
So, good to see you guys. Send us some text, man. Get involved. Send us an email.
We'd love to. And so my challenge to to anybody listening in the UK would be, first of all, send us ideas that you think would be great celebrations for great moments in building history, maybe British constructions and things like that were lesser known. Everything, our mind always goes to like Stonehenge or something, but maybe some other ones. And then also, what sort of challenges do you face with all that humidity out there? I mean, we always talk about water is the enemy. What is that like when you're battling all those if you live in foggy London or something like that, we'd love to know. So, okay. Absolutely. That's great, man. International. That's what's great about the internet. That's one of the good things about the internet. You can listen anywhere.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, okay. Hey, before we get on to our must-have item of the week, we do have some reactions, Allan. And one thing, so Barbara weighed in on your decorative panels that you put in the pool house. Mm-hmm. She said, thanks for posting the photo. I was having a bit of a challenge visualizing this based on the verbal description. My mistake was thinking that solid mats were used. Maybe we need to reiterate that, Allan. Floor mats like those, and they're really thick. I think they're made of like recycled car tires or something.
I'm pretty sure
they're like a good inch or so thick. I mean, they're really hardy.
Yeah, these are those commercial for the kitchens, and they are see-through.
But they're
have
see-through.
holes in
Yeah,
them.
it's like basically, I don't know what they use to make them, but they probably use some, and like a mold, and it's completely see-through, but they're hardy enough where they give you some. It kind of, like you said, it divides the visual space. It defines the back of this pool house thing, but it doesn't completely shut it off. So yeah, thanks, Barbara, for weighing in on that. Angel said I like the idea, and then Max, you said Angel weighed in on the text line as well.
She says I hate linoleum.
Okay, good. That's all she said?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's what's in my kitchen and bathrooms.
Okay. All right.
For now, there are upgrades coming.
Okay. And, we feel your pain, Angel, and somehow I feel like Allan's going to be involved one day in the removal of that linoleum because you get roped into everything.
Feeling, yes.
So, also, while we're at it, on the Facebook page, we want to welcome a new follower, Lee Mooney. He just joined the Tool Talk Radio community and followed the page. So that's what we're looking for, folks. We love you. We love you, hearing from you. We love the interactions. And one last comment from Barbara, who's been very active. She said, she just said the enemy in exclamation points about your photo of the raccoon. I guess.
Oh my gosh.
That raccoon. I mean, it's a good photo, Allan. It looks. I wouldn't want to walk directly under that thing and look up and see that thing looking at.
When
That
he
is a
woke up
big
and
raccoon.
realized I was staring at him, man, he gave me the look.
He gave you the dead eye.
And I went, I got something for you. That's all right.
When you stare into the void stares back at you.
And your reaction, your first instinct was to throw a water balloon at him, right, Allan? So go figure. Okay.
I wasn't going to climb up there and arm wrestle him, so I was going to convince him to find a different place to take a nap.
Okay, so a lot of dynamic activity today on Tool Talk Radio. So, all right, well, let's keep things moving, Allan. It's time to get to our must-have item of the week, which are technically must-have items, and I never know if I used the correct grammar or this, but tell people what I'm holding up. And I'm holding it up to the camera, too, so you can see it on the...
You are holding up my favorite repair markers.
Yeah, basically.
Oh my
well, they're
gosh.
stain. So I call them stain markers. Some people call them stain pen. Yeah, they're called repair. Basically, what do we got here? We got 6 different colors of sort of very common stain colors in their magic marker form. That's as simple as you can get. But boy, do these babies come in handy. They hide a multitude of sins.
Oh my gosh! Of every little tool skiff.
Yeah.
Minor little corners and/or for matching in putties.
Sure.
I find that to be the big one for me.
Can artists use them?
Oh,
anybody
yes.
can use. There's
big
nothing
time.
written on. Now that's an interesting. Okay.
Oh no, I've seen some amazing works
Now, Max,
Done.
that's a good thought. So these are markers. This is oil based, so these are stain. Basically these are magic markers where wood stain comes out of it, oil based. But I didn't think of them because they do dry fairly, reasonably quick. Not immediately, but Max, that's sort of an interesting concept because I wonder how some of our artist friends would use these.
Actually, I can give you exact examples because they will hide imagery in the wood grain.
Oh, there you go.
I've got a lady I worked with years ago that would go through and put murals, basically shadow murals, onto your door or other wood items. And she was really good. You knew something was there, but it took you a minute to see it. It didn't just you didn't just walk over and go, oh, look, there's a cat.
Is that kind of like artificially making like an image in the wood grain that we would already naturally see? It's like, oh, I see a face in that wood grain. Well, it's like, well, I'm gonna make the impression myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, because sometimes wood grain looks like you step back and you go, huh, that looks like an owl, or that looks like a shark.
My mother-in-law.
Or your mother-in-law.
Well, this one, she would slip in the baby or a crib or your cat or dog. And it was a very cool artwork.
That sounds like something that's kind of creepy, too. It makes me think of, like, when you see, like, a nuclear explosion and there's, like, the silhouettes on the wall.
Right.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, it's funny. I never thought of taking it in this direction. Although the practical use for these stain markers is, you get a little ding on a table or you get a little chip. You know where these work great is in your kitchen cabinets. If you have kitchen cabinets that are stained, of course, that's the whole key. And maybe it's near a sink. And you know how like that top layer tends to chip and it tends to, and you don't want to necessarily replace them, but you're tired of looking at that raw strip of wood.
That little white spot. Yeah.
Do a nice, gentle sanding. And these need to be used with some finesse. You don't just, you gently rub it in there. And, but I always recommend, Allan, because the caps on these markers, the only downside I would say is they don't really accurately show you the stain color. These are sort of a guess. So use a test piece first, test because they may look completely different.
Well, the other thing I find is it usually takes 2 or 3 pins to actually get the effect that I want.
Yeah, you might have to blend 2 colors.
Exactly. So I usually have a cotton. The way I usually use those is I usually have a cotton ball with some alcohol on it or a little alcohol wipe. So I'm ready to put my darker color in first.
Right.
And then lighten it up a little bit and then just kind of clean and buff it up so that I get rid of the excess that might go around the edges.
Right. Yeah, no, they're super handy. Our buddy Robbie weighed in too.
Oh.
He said that's not his brand. Well, he's very
right. He is very brand loyal.
Right, and he said, but he's a big fan. So, but no, they're great, and I never thought of the artistic opportunities involved with that. So, hey, Allan, I just want to say though, I'm a little surprised that Agent 732 hasn't weighed in. Max, there's nothing, no word from the agent.
We got more Sean. We got another thing. We got more linoleum loathe instead of love.
Oh, right.
I hate linoleum because growing up, I always had to clean it. My parents made me clean the kitchen floors.
Who said that?
Sean,
we feel your pain. Wait, so, I didn't think of that. It fades, it wears out, and then it collects dirt.
Oh, yeah.
Linoleum's the worst. If you're out there and you sell linoleum, I don't think anybody even sells it anymore.
Yes, they do.
Do they?
Linoleum is still a thing.
Well, we apologize, but not that strongly. I'm sorry. We just, who knows? Allan, hour 1 of Tool Talk Radio is in the can, literally. But hour 2 is coming up, folks, and it's we're going to be right back with our great moments in building history, talking all about roller coasters.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome to hour 2 of Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. Check out the action over there and like the page like Sharon Peacock just did. We have a new follower. Excellent. Sharon, welcome to the Tool Talk Radio family, and she pretty much liked she's been very active for a new litany. She's liking and commenting. We'll check out what Sharon had to say in a minute. But there's a lot going on over there, Alan. We made about 5 posts, and people are weighing in, and we love hearing your thoughts. And if they're interesting, we'll read them on the air. Also, while you're on Tool Talk, scoot on over to the News Talk 98.9 The Roar Facebook page and check out the show. You can watch the show on the Royal Retreat studio cams. Alan just waved.
Yep.
Wow, that's thrilling. Okay, good for you. But
Hello.
if nothing else, you can see what a beautiful studio we have here. There's no arguing with that, Alan.
Yep.
You and I may not be
Oh, well, beautiful is not a word used in association with the two of us.
right, but the studio that is a
Good-looking place.
a beautiful structure. So you can see all of that, and then of course, like we say, don't do that while you're driving. And if you think you're going to see Max on those cameras, forget it, because he always carefully turns his camera off. And
Yeah, but I can reach mine. He can be on the air.
so and there's a lot on the table. We're not going to recap it all, but Max did indicate there's several holidays being celebrated today, including Blueberry Popsicle Day, VE Day or VJ Day, and Hummingbird Day, all sorts of activities. So, but Alan, there's no time for that at the moment, because we have got to jump into our great moments in building history. Oh, Max changed it up. Alan, okay, this is so, generally with our great moments in building history, our tendency is to focus on one structure, one particular moment in time, and unpack it and talk about how it was built. This one is sort of more wide-ranging. We are going to span literally span the centuries here, and we're going to talk about roller coasters. And Alan, let me just give you my little bullet points here, since this is the research I did, and then
okay.
we'll throw it out to the floor. So roller coasters go back to, well, they started off as basically, what do you call them, like a toboggan type thing. It was basically sleds in the 1500s in Russia. Well, it's cold and people get bored and they want to do something, and so they constructed these pretty cool, elaborate, ramps, more or less, and they slid down them in the winter.
The pastime of the proletariat.
That's, well, Alan, Max stole the word. I wrote proletariat's a funny word to me.
It's like comrade.
Comrade. Russians had some pretty funny, but the proletariats and the lower classes this was not a, what did they call the bourgeoisie?
Bourgeoisie.
They weren't out there sliding down these ramps, Alan. This was strictly for the lower classes.
Until.
But then along came a woman named Catherine the Great.
Who was awful.
Yeah, thanks, man. One of the leaders, she usurped her husband. She came along, and she took an interest in this and realized that if you attached wheels to these sleds, you didn't have to do this in the winter. You could suddenly roll down these ramps in the summertime and when it's warm out. And now that she's doing this, suddenly the upper class decided this is a worthy enterprise, and I'm sure and then we're off and rolling, so to speak. A few centuries later, the French came along and they put actual rollers on ramps, and you slid down on more or less a box type of thing, I guess. And that's where the term roller coaster came from. I probably played around a little bit with the, with historical accuracy or something, but more or less, we're going back to the roller. We're going back to the 1500s in Russia.
And I think, as a brief aside, it's interesting that the Italian word for roller coaster actually translates to Russian mountain.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But Alan, there's a wide-ranging history, and I would suspect you probably could even take it back further. I mean, sleds they've probably been around for millennia, right? People have been sliding down hills and mountains or something.
That kind of stuff. Okay.
But Catherine the Great is sort of what we would maybe call the mother of the roller coaster.
Before she was the Great, when she was just Catherine the wife, she was guilty of dressing up like a man and attending military functions. And one of the big military functions was like moving your cannons around by wheels.
Okay.
And she caught on to the fact that, gravity is more than just a suggestion. And,
gravity
done
always
properly.
Wins. That's another.
And then your Russian mountain, so to speak, originally was just basically a trail stamped in a hill so that you kind of marched up one side and you tobogganed and slid down the other.
Right.
And if you had a big kind of circle at the bottom, one of the fun things was to see how far around you could get and maybe up the other side.
Scoot back up, yeah.
And then when we started doing this for entertainment with the wheels, okay, that kind of caught on. But we had something similar going on, guess where? In the mines.
Sure.
Because now we got to move
yeah.
tons of material.
And you know that a lot of miners back in the day were probably jumping on those and riding them down. That's why I feel like the history of this is blurred. Some people may not be getting the credit they deserve because it didn't occur to them to make it into a ride. So
Sorry, just a brief aside. Agent 732 finally texted in. They said, I slept through the first hour. I miss anything good?
yeah, go back and listen. We are not recapping that. I don't even know how to recap that first hour. So
all right, well, let's go to the Mach Chunk Switchback Railway, which was a gravity-fed railway built in 1827 to haul coal.
Right.
Okay, so here we go. Because this thing was gravity-fed and because it was hauling coal, these cars could get going like 50 miles an hour.
Well, the braking system became more important than the actual rollers.
Yeah, but are you ready? In 1873, they did something weird, and they let people for 75 cents each ride in the coal cars.
Sure. Why not? It would have been pretty interesting.
Let's just say OSHA was not around at that time.
No, and part of the fun of this discussion is going to be all of the dangerous iterations of roller coasters that came along before OSHA and before people cared about things like seatbelts and safety standards and things like that.
These people watched these cold cars go flying through the Lehigh Valley and thought, hey, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And honestly, the railway actually let them do it. And I think it was in 1873, over 30,000 people did this.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a really fascinating history, and it continues to this day. I mean, roller coasters are as big as ever. So we're going to continue the discussion here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I wonder if they're fraternal or identical tools.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I told you I'd get my revenge.
I knew the next rejoiner would be a bad one, Allan. So I haven't heard that one in a while. So, and it's definitely fraternal, Max.
You call me predictable? I gave you this.
Absolutely. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and the Vengeful Max behind the glass.
I appreciate that adjective, by the way.
Okay, thanks, man. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. Now, just like Agent 732 has been doing this morning, now that he finally woke up. And like I said, if you're new to, or if you're just, if you haven't listened to Tool Talk Radio in a few weeks, we can now reveal that we have learned definitively that Agent 732 is a he. There was some certain information that inadvertently slipped out, and so we know that. So we will now say he texted. But also, we invite you to go digital. Go over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. We've made 5 posts. There's a lot of activity over there. We've welcomed in some new followers, and we appreciate your comments over there. And also, after while you're on Facebook, scoot on over to the News Talk 98.9 The Roar Facebook page and watch the show on the Royal Retreat studio cams. Hey, Allan, in a minute, we're going to get back to our discussion of for great moments in building history, all about the history of roller coasters. We'll probably have to roll along a little quicker, only because it's a huge history. I'll tell you this: it is a fun rabbit hole to go down on YouTube. In the research I was doing, man, I found some great videos about it, and some are better than others. But the history, you can't encompass it all. I mean, it is there's so much in there, and I would say probably some historians might even dispute certain facts as far as who gets definitive credit. We're going back to like Catherine the Great and everything. But in a minute, we'll continue that. But you know who I bet likes roller coasters? He's a high energy guy. I'm sure he does. Is our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling. Allan, I just saw Jay 2 days ago. I have a project that he's doing the roofing for, a pretty good sized roof, and it's probably gonna, I don't know, he may wind up doing the entire house as well. It's a pretty sizable project, and I was just reminded of the dynamic personality of Jay. You're on the job, and
I'm sure he'd like that adjective as well.
he probably would. I mean, so you're there, and he's like, okay, I'll be there in 30 minutes. The minute he gets on the site, the whole energy changes there.
Oh, yeah.
It'll wake you up. It's like, I mean, he gets and has all his tools. He's got his printouts. He's got, he uses the latest technology to. He already shows me the survey of the, the thing that what do they use for measuring from outer space and things like that.
Yes.
But of course, you got to get up there and do a visual inspection. But it's great, and the homeowners loved them. They can't wait to work with Jay. But if you have any roofing. Really, roofing and the exterior protection of your home, because this particular family is looking at gutters as well. But Jay deals with roofing, gutters, siding, and windows. That's sort of his wheelhouse. And you need obviously you need that. I mean, what is more important than the exterior protection of your home? I mean, it is you got to get it right, and especially when it comes to the roof. Jay is a GAF Master Elite Installer, him and his whole team. 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau always, and they use GAF because those are the elite of the, GAF is a great company, and they install roofing systems which are guaranteed for life. They have lifetime transferable warranties.
That's amazing.
I mean, it isn't unbelievable. Also, Jay is a former insurance agent, which is hugely important because roofs especially are a part of the home that sometimes are damaged and is covered by your homeowner's insurance, and that is not an easy process to navigate. You need somebody that is qualified and understands the protocols, and Jay knows all about that. So if you have a claim, he can help you with that whole process, and the whole consultation is free. Also, Jay has 30 lenders at his disposal if you need to finance. Just a great business culture, rock solid, and high energy. Be ready to be ready for that when he shows up on the job site. So Jay always encourages you to get in touch with him directly. You can call him at 901-484 5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. All right, Allan, I think we're going to call this the selective history of the roller coaster because let's face it, I mean, what do we there are so many, basically we're talking about using gravity to slide down something and having fun. The big thing I noticed though, Allan, is up until a man named L.A. Thompson came along, which he is a hugely important figure in the history of the roller coaster. Mm-hmm. The one thing that's noteworthy is when you look at it, because the French came up with roller coasters, they're pretty cool looking, there are these ramps. But what's noteworthy is you went downhill and then you got off and then you walked back up. They didn't go in a circle. The revolution came when somebody said, why don't we make these things where you don't have to walk back up? You go in a continuous loop, and that sort of changed everything because it also involved motors and chains and things like that. But a lot once they got that idea down, then all bets were off. Then they started getting really out of hand too.
All right. Well, as you said, the Switchback Gravity Railway. So we had coal cars, and by 1873, people were paying money to ride a coal car down the side of a mountain for 75 cents.
Why not?
So,
sounds fun. Although they were made to hold coal, and if they fell off the tracks and coal spilled out, it's not the end of the world. But
when you dumped a bunch of tourists in the valley, well, So let's talk about L.A. Thompson.
Okay,
Lamarcus Adness Thompson, who had a lot to do with designing and building switchback gravity railways.
Could they get a better title? That's a very long title.
Yes, but he got really disgusted.
Okay.
He he visited Brooklyn's Coney Island and just went, okay, there's enough saloons and brothels and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
We need a better distraction.
How about some good, clean fun?
Exactly.
Family fun. Yeah.
And for a nickel, he was going to give thrill inducers basically the idea we know today.
Right. Well, he saw the potential. I mean, people, because,
They were
it's
getting
fun.
on these things. They were going 50 miles an hour in a coal car.
Right. Yeah.
Not exactly the safest thing in the world to do. So he built the very, very first true roller coaster in America in Coney Island. Only went a whopping 6 miles an hour. And it would go through scenes designed to emulate beautiful landscapes around the world.
Okay, that's where I wanted to focus on. What did you have, Max?
I wanted to
it's
talk
not
about.
going to derail the conversation.
No,
is it?
I wanted to talk about one of the other types of roller coasters that existed.
Hold on. Give me 1 second because I just want to. L.A. Thompson was noteworthy for something, Max, because he saw the potential in making this more than a. It's more than just a riding up and down on something. He wanted to create an entire environment. He's the one that came along and said, let's put flashing lights. Let's put where maybe it looks like you're about to hit an archway or something, and you have to. He created the whole notion that we see at amusement parks today, where it's like you're going. It's a themed ride,
and
that changed the whole thing.
Well, we need to introduce one more person to truly get this. Pardon the really bad pun. Really rolling.
Okay.
You got to meet Philip Hinkle.
Okay.
What did Philip Hinkle invent? He didn't invent the roller coaster. What he invented was the power chain that pulled the roller coaster up the first hill.
Which is important because, otherwise you're walking.
Before, with the coal cars, they were rolling down the mountain.
Right.
With in Russia, you climbed the mountain, kind of like a water slide.
Right.
You got to the top, and then you had fun coming down.
Right.
Well, Hinkle comes along and goes, if this thing just started higher, we could really have some fun with this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go.
But
now we have got the ability to take you up to that height, tip you over the edge, and just let you go.
Right. Well, Max, go ahead. Now, we kind of glossed over because I think that I don't remember what era that was, but I know Max wanted to weigh in on some of the more dangerous elements. Is that what you were interested in, Max?
Well, let's just say that there was a roller coaster, one of the first ones actually to introduce the loop. But guess what? The only thing holding you in place was centrifugal force.
And there were no lots. So the first loop roller coaster is hilarious. Hopefully nobody died. I don't think they did. But basically, it was a two-person car. They rolled you down. It went in a full loop. It didn't do a corkscrew. It went in a loop. There were no seat belts. There was no rail. If you weren't heavy enough or if that thing wasn't going fast enough, you're going to get to the top of the loop and just fall
off. Yep.
No safety standard. I have to believe at some point somebody probably did, or it could have flown off the rails. What if what if wind caught it or something like that? Some of the old ones
happened.
That's part of the rabbit hole you want to go down is some of the pre-OSHA ones like like that. But you're right, Allan. But there's also some of the it's funny because it seems like when it comes to revolutions in building and technology, a lot of times it comes from things that are more or less recreation, and it's funny because there is some serious engineering that goes into roller coasters, especially, do you use wood? Do you use steel? And back in the day before I-beams were a thing, and that's part of this too. So,
well, as part of the Hinkle new coaster, of Coney Island got their revenge for the distraction roller coaster,
right?
Because it was always called the oval coaster.
Okay.
Because we took you up over this giant oval and let you go.
Right.
The real name of the Hinkle on Coney Island was the Coney Island Gravity Pleasure Road.
Yeah, another one of these. Just, the branding in these. Do they not understand brevity is the soul of wit or any of that?
Not in 1884.
Yeah, the branding lacked a little. It left a little something to be desired. We're going to have some parting thoughts on this because it is a fascinating history, and then we're going to get to some Tool tales. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I've got one single nail and another nail to nail it in with. and I'm gonna stop this infernal ice cream machine once and for all.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I mean, there are many things wrong with that statement, Alan, and the worst of all is that he's trying to take out an ice cream machine. I mean, I don't support that. That's if nothing else.
I do. I'm lactose intolerant.
Okay. And we'll
So what did a cow ever do to you? Really?
no kidding. And we'll come back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. There's a lot happening over there. I can't recap it now, Alan. We don't have time. But check it out. Like the page and share the page. And then while you're on Facebook, scoot on over to the News Talk 98.9 The Roar Facebook page and watch the show on the Royal Retreat studio cams. And Alan, speaking of the Royal Retreat, let's talk about them for a moment before we get back to our great moments in building history discussion.
Yeah, we were talking about roller coasters. Well, life is definitely a roller coaster ride.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, how'd you like that one?
Good segue, sir.
So, well, if you are on the life's roller coaster ride like that, and you got a little family dynamics, a.k.a. everybody needs a little assistance now and again, the Royal Retreat at 65519 Arnold Road here in Memphis is very conveniently located right off of 385 between Germantown and Collierville on Kirby Parkway. It's right there. You can get right off of 385 and you're there in a minute.
Yep.
The Royal Retreat is an assisted living facility, so if you need some pampering and care and assistance with your medication, that type of thing, you need to get a plan. You need to get some answers. You need to go take a tour.
And you want that peace of mind. And when you see what, the way they treat your loved ones, that's a pretty cool setup.
They just had a Roaring 20s party.
Oh, boy. I forgot that they party it up over there.
Amazing.
Right.
Oh, yeah. They decorate.
It's kind of a lot of activities going on there, too.
Constantly. Always something happening. So if you've got any questions or need any information, they can get hold of the Royal Retreat and Lana Candela, who is the Community Relations Director, at 901-563-2210. Or, of course, they can always go online and look up RoyalRetreatMemphis.com.
Absolutely. So, and we need to get them back on the show soon. They're due for another visit.
Yes, they'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Okay, awesome. So, hey, real quick, Alan, speaking of the show and where we'll be, actually, it isn't in a couple of weeks. We're going to be back at the Cooper Young Fest. I think I can say this safely, right? The plan is to be broadcasting. We're right at the corner of Cooper and Young. We'll be set up in the News Talk 98.9 The Roar tent, and we'll be promoting, and I'm sure other shows are going to be there as well. The easy way to find us is we're like literally about 10 feet away from that gazebo.
Yes.
Just get to the gazebo and you'll see us. We're right there. So we hope you'll drop by, and I have to imagine that Allan and probably our good buddy Larry Brown and Jay Hill will have some swag to give away. So it's always fun to meet people, because you don't always get to see people. I'd be curious if Robbie shows up, what this guy actually looks like.
Or Agent 732.
Agent 732 will probably show up in a hooded.
Well, we never know that one, but
right. So, but come see us at the Cooper Young Festival. So, hey, Allan, September 16th. I'm sorry, Saturday, September 16th. Hey, Allan. There's no possible way to adequately discuss the entire history of the roller coaster in this segment. It's a lot of fun to discuss, but there are some highlights and lowlights, right, Max? Didn't Agent 732 weigh in on something?
This isn't a low light. It's kind of an interesting fact.
Okay, what is it?
Roller coasters actually have a medical use. The vibrations of the rides are at the right frequency to break up and jostle loose kidney stones.
I don't believe that for a minute. Come on, Allan. They're not that. How?
And
I call foul on that one.
Nope,
how do we know that?
Nope, because I'm going to step it up one more and tell you the best one for doing that.
all roller coasters are not created equal, Alan.
That's
Some of them are
correct.
very smooth. Some of them are.
Very correct. However,
I don't buy this.
The most popular one for kidney stones. I'm not kidding.
So the doctor says, okay, head on over to the.
The doctor says if vibration therapy will work on your kidney stones, you need to go ride Big Thunder Mountain Railway at Disney World.
Okay, wait a minute.
The ultimate renal experience.
Okay, thanks, Max. Okay, but Alan, well, it's not just jostling a kidney stone. What is it doing to your spine and your neck?
It's the gravity. Remember, you're going to be hauled up to that great big first point. And when they drop you, you actually go into 0 G.
So we're talking G-force kidney stone removal therapy.
Hey, Joe, you gripe about this, but you look at what you have at your house. You have an inversion thing to literally hang you upside down.
Okay, but I don't see that.
That's
as
the power
same
of
way.
gravity, man.
Okay.
If you use it just right.
The vibration of this actually hits hits just perfect. So railways, the jostling motion, it's kind of like well, you've had a passel of children.
Yeah.
Didn't you ever put one in the car and go driving to make it go to sleep?
Yeah, that's
it's
a
that
standard.
general motion kind of thing. Well, congratulations to Agent 732 of.
I don't buy it.
Yeah.
I've heard kidney stones are very painful. I've luckily never had one, but getting that out of there, I doubt you get to the bottom of the hill and go, woohoo! And, it's all.
No, but it's been jostled loose.
Yeah, I mean.
And to tell you how much this has been studied, the Journal of American Osteopathic Medicine did a full study on this, and they said about 2/3 of the time the kidney stone would eventually pass. And they said the best place to sit was in the back of the coaster.
Okay, all right.
I just find that hilarious.
I knew Agent 732 would derail literally derail the conversation. But Alan, I did have a couple parting thoughts about this that had to do with actual building stuff. That is what the show's about. But,
like which one's the tallest?
Well, no, I don't care about that. My question was, they started with wood. These are wooden structures. Well, when you look at the engineering involved, especially as they started, because the big revolution came, as you said, when they put a chain attachment that pulled this up to a hill. And the idea was, now that you have this, let's make this construction as high as possible. You also want, one of the creepy things about a roller coaster is the feeling that you're suspended out in midair. So you don't want a lot going, so all of the supports and everything are under you. They're not around you or anything. That takes some engineering. And because you're dealing with stresses of, different weight loads every time, it's good, and exposure to weather. This is some serious construction. It's very easy to look at a roller coaster and go, okay, but man, the geometry, everything involved in this is really sophisticated. I have to imagine there were probably some disasters early
there have
on,
been many disasters.
But it's a real marvel of engineering, and then especially when they start incorporating steel and things like that. And so,
there are even video games out there where you can create your own roller coasters.
Now I did see that in one of the videos. They mentioned that
you can actually sit around and actually design a roller coaster and test it, and it will fail.
Yeah.
So if you didn't design it right, so let's say your corners are too tight.
Right.
The cars will go flying off the track. So, I mean, that is how into video games, programming, physics, and engineering we've gotten with roller coasters.
I would say, too, as a parting thought, it's easy to sometimes dismiss video games like, oh, those video games. There's a lot of educational value in some of those. And I think, because I know there's a lot of scientists like that, Michio Kaku, who says one of the failings of the way we teach science to kids is there's too many books and there's not enough hands-on. This is what we're doing. Today, we are going to go blow up something or whatever. But constructing a virtual roller coaster, I think you learn a lot of engineering, physics, everything. And, so I would encourage you folks, get on YouTube. Studying the roller coaster is a lot of fun. This was an enjoyable one. And we barely scratched the surface, Alan, because, it's a huge history.
I actually used to know one of the guys whose job it was to go walk the Zippin' Pippin' and look for worn-out boards.
Oh, I mean, that's important.
A million. I mean, this is like 30 years ago, 30 years ago when the Zippin' Pippin was here in Memphis. But that was like a huge job.
No kidding.
Their job was to literally have the safety harness on and go walk the Zippin' Pippin all the way through to see if any boards had cracked or there was a safety issue.
And you talk about water is the enemy. You got to make sure all of the Zippin' Pippin boards are not, you don't want any rotted boards. You don't have, but so.
And when you talk about weird things that can happen on a roller coaster, do you remember what happened when they opened Apollo's Chariot on its debut run?
Never heard of it. I don't know.
Apollo's Chariot. Do you remember a model by the name of Fabio?
Oh yeah, Fabio. He was the
well, Fabio
the
was
90s
on the
guy.
Right. He was the guest of honor at the very first run of Apollo's Chariot, and coming down the very first big hill, the first big drop, he collided with a Canadian goose.
Okay, that's random, and I don't even know how to say. I mean, that sounds like the makings of a I don't know what.
Neither of them were very happy.
That sounds painful, and it sounds like the goose might have won that. That encounter.
It was kind of rough, but so weird things can indeed happen to somebody on a roller coaster.
Well, that's true. Okay, let's move it along. Let's. That's pretty good.
Let's roll on down the road here.
Hey, Allan, we don't always have time. We don't want to fail to mention our activities. So, what is for your activity? Is if I really want to know what is going on this week with darkoakmedia.com. I'm sure there's something interesting.
Well, Dark Oak Media's big splash, of course, is our haunted history features.
Well, you're well into Halloween.
Oh, yeah. We're seriously knee-deep into the territory. However, Scott J. Carroll, who I may talk into going with us to, may get him to join us from Geeky Side TV, just got a new show picked up on Roku.
Yeah.
Cooking in a Tiny Kitchen.
Yeah.
And Scott is, he's a funny guy. His latest one, the Not Dog, how to make a not dog out of chicken, is a huge hit.
Out of chicken. Okay, you got me confused too. A not dog out of chicken. All right.
A not dog out of chicken.
I don't know, man. Yeah, Scott J. Carroll in a controlled situation is good. You let him free range and things get out of control. So, but all right. So okay, darkoakmedia.com. And of course, if you're a content creator, I mean, Allan doesn't have a lot of restrictions as far as what he'll put on the network. So, but okay. That's interesting. So we might even see Scott J. Carroll out.
Yeah, I might talk him into coming down with us.
Okay. All right. Well, man, I don't know where this show is going, Allan. We only got one segment left.
One segment left, man.
But we want to get back and circle back and have a nice Tool Tale discussion.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Sorry about the mess. I've really let the place go since you killed me. By the way, thanks for that.
Sarcasm self-test complete.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I'm not sure what Allan's doing. Allan, we're going on the air right now. Not a great time to be asking me other questions. So anyway, well, I don't know what's good. This place is a nut house. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth, whose headset came out of the microphone jack there. You can call, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. Live radio, baby. We also invite you to go over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out all of the posts we've made over there. And thanks to our new followers, I guess that's what it's called. We got a few people that joined the Tool Talk Radio community. We sure appreciate them, and we appreciate all your comments over there. And then after you've done that, go scoot on over to the News Talk 98.9, the Roar Facebook page, and watch the show on the Royal Retreat studio cams. And you can watch it any time of day if that's your thing. If you have the ability to throw that onto your TV, that might be fun, watching the whole thing on a device that way. So, Allan, we had a really fun discussion about roller coasters, which we barely scratched the surface because I mean, for one thing, I don't even know how many roller coasters there are in the world. They've been, it's a really fascinating history. We strongly encourage you, get on YouTube. It's a fun thing it's a fun rabbit hole to go down. So, but Allan, let's change gears. I got a nice Tool Tale discussion here.
Tool Tales with Tool Talk Radio.
So our loyal listener, Robbie, Robbie deals with floors. That's sort of his thing, hardwood flooring. Which, let's face it, if you deal with that, you're dealing with hardwoods. You want precise cuts. You're not in there using, you're using very straight, exact cutting implements. Yeah.
He's not a linoleum fan.
No, he is not a linoleum man. I would have to bet. But he sent me a picture, and we posted it on our Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. I have to admit, I probably have used this thing twice in my whole life. I don't own one. I don't really need one, but it's called a plunge cut track saw. And I also want to make note that it has a vacuum attachment to it. So basically, folks, if you can imagine a circular saw, I think most people know what that is. And, basically a circular saw, you can adjust the height as far as how deep the circular blade will cut into a surface. And there is a fence on the side that you can use to maybe butt against something and run it to get a straight cut. Well, this is a souped up version of that. And the plunge part is interesting. This is a bigger version of that, and you can kind of push down and lift it, because you may have things where you have to skip over or something. But it looks like a very precise instrument, but also the blade is completely covered, so you don't have a visual. You better double check your measurements on this. Let's put it that way. And the vacuum attachment is cool, so it's a great tool. I don't know how much one of those costs, Allan, but. What sort of experience do you have with this plunge saw? Plunge saws are cool.
All right, I'll address the cost thing. They're anywhere from about decent ones from about $400 on up to however much you want to spend.
Yeah.
The coolest thing about any plunge saw is exactly that. You can plunge.
Right.
So you can be 10 feet into the job, and this is where and I'm thinking like of air conditioning ducts.
Yeah.
And stuff where you can now actually just plunge in right here without having to try to jigsaw your way in and all that nonsense. You just zap, and now you've got a hole. You've already got your cut. You can now precisely do the job you need to do.
Yeah, and also it not only that, Allan. How many times do you work with a circular saw where maybe you're hitting a knot and you almost need that relief? You almost have to back off to let the saw kind of recover. Well, with a plunge saw, you just lift it up and then you gently. You may have, especially with harder woods like that you're probably using with flooring and stuff. So
that's exactly it. And the way these things track out, it's pretty easy to get the exact lineup you want so that the blade is not necessarily visible or obvious.
Yeah.
So you're not watching it like we would watch, like we were using a pair of sawhorses and we were cutting a 2x4.
Right.
So this is, again, it's for the situation where you need to plunge through something. So let's say we've got a sheet of plywood and we need a rectangular spot cut in the center of the piece of plywood.
Right.
Well,
you plunge down. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, you don't have to drill the big holes in it first and then try not to have a rounded edge in a corner somewhere.
Yeah.
You honestly line this thing up, get everything in place. And now I will definitely say this for it. Measure about 8 times before you plunge.
Yeah, because you got to really know exactly where that blade's going to land because you don't see the blade. You're kind of going blind.
When you push down, you've cut. But the beautiful thing is you now have a beautiful circle saw quality cut without destruction of the material around it.
And Robbie, maybe you'll have to follow up. I get the sense, too, with modern plunge saws, there's probably a laser on there. Maybe there's a laser guide that shows you exactly where the blade's going to hit. Maybe it's not as blind as we think. But, hey, Allan, I wanted to mention something. And, Robbie, thanks for that suggestion. That was a good one. And we'd love to hear back from you on your plunge saw adventures. But what got me about this was the vacuum hose attachment. Yes. And I wanted to segue a little because, Allan, one of the things I'm just a big advocate of is since I do mostly woodworking, that's sort of my bread and butter, and especially if I'm in a shop situation, boy, a good vacuum system, that is just a treat. You have the it's a little more. I mean, it's obviously, and there's maintenance because you got to keep it clean. But, boy, when you work in a shop, and you're running a saw or you're running a sander, and it's just drawing out almost all of the sawdust. Boy, is that a treat. I mean, it's and it keeps it from landing on all the other things in the shop. And I'm a big fan of a good vacuum system. So.
I am also a big fan of a good fan system when you are doing larger jobs. I just finished a job a few weeks ago where it was sheetrock, hanging sheetrock, mudding, taping, and a whole lot of sanding.
Yeah.
And, actually having the windows open and the door open, a couple of good fans made a massive difference to the amount of dirt, dust, and of course, anytime you work with sheetrock and sanding, you are generating dust faster than humanly possible.
Oh, yeah.
It is amazing how much you can make.
And I don't know what it is, and I don't know why this is, or if I'm just cursed. But, Alan, I could be outside, and let's suppose I'm using my miter saw, and I strategically position it because the wind is coming from my back, and somehow I'll cut, and it still seems to circle back and blow right in my face. Yep. I don't know why that is. I don't know what kind of aerodynamics are at play. But boy, when you have a good vacuum system, that it helps. It doesn't get rid of every bit, but boy, it's really cool, and it's a little more work to set up. But I would say if you're setting up any kind of home workshop, there's modular ways to do it too, Alan. You could have I would imagine you could even probably rig something with a decent shop vac. Makes a difference. I'm picturing a swinging arm where you have the vacuum hanging from the ceiling, and then you position your tool underneath it there, then you just clamp it to that or something. I don't know. It's worth investing the time in. A vacuum system really helps, man.
It does. So, it really, really does.
So we appreciate that, and
I will confess that I have cleaned more than one work area, including the one I'll be going to tomorrow, with a leaf blower.
Oh yeah,
I have.
But there, you're blowing it out into the whatever.
You're trying to get you're trying to get from the inside to the outside, and this happens to be a completely empty work area.
Right.
Translation. There's no furniture or anything in it. We haven't put down the flooring.
Yeah.
So getting in there and just getting a good jet of air going, I'm telling you, the cleaner the job site, the happier you are going to be.
Absolutely. Well, Alan, I say it every week, but I am always stunned when I look at the clock and go, oh, well, the show's over. I don't know where it went, but it's over. Luckily, it's saved for the archives. Like you said, check us out. You can go to YouTube, Spotify. All the shows are there. And we sure appreciate all the comments and, things from our listeners and Facebook messages, all that good stuff. But, Alan, the show's over. It's time to get out of here. So on behalf of my buddy, Allan Gilbreth, and our pal Max over there behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.